Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. We're not just looking at a place on a map.
No, not at all.
We are really dissecting a strategy, a travel strategy for a world that's, well, a little overcrowded.
Especially in certain places.
Oh, definitely. And I want to start with a visualization. It comes directly from our source material today.
Which is a really comprehensive travel breakdown from Phil H. Travel.
Exactly, and it's important to frame this. It was recorded specifically in the context of the year we're in now, 2026.
The context is everything here. It's a great way to start, and I think it frames the entire argument just perfectly.
It really does. So I want you, our listener, to just close your eyes for a second. Imagine you're standing on a ferry dock. It's southern Italy.
I can picture it.
The sun is beating down. It's hot. You can smell that mix of, salt water and diesel fuel from the boats.
A classic port smell.
Right. Now, look to your left. This is what the source calls the left view. And it is the dream. You see those jagged, multi-million-dollar cliffs. You know the ones.
Oh, yeah. The ones that have been the wallpaper on everyone's phone for, the last decade.
That's it. The place where a bottle of still water costs €8.
If you're lucky.
Right.
Yeah.
And where every single set of stairs feels like a knee replacement waiting to happen.
Yeah. And everyone around you looks like they just stepped out of a high-fashion magazine shoot. It's very curated.
The Amalfi dream, as the source puts it. The aesthetic economy in full swing.
Absolutely.
Okay. But now, without moving your feet, just turn your head to the right.
Okay.
And this is the right view. And it is, well, it's jarringly different.
Total contrast.
You see a working industrial port.
Yeah.
You see shipping containers stacked, like 4 high.
Cranes.
Yeah, cranes. And a skyline that looks less like a Renaissance painting and more like a gritty 1970s movie set. It's concrete, it's loud, and it is definitely not on a postcard.
A really stark contrast. And if you're following the source material, that gritty view to the right, well, that's the city of Salerno.
And here is the twist. The entire argument we're diving into today is that if you walk just 5 minutes inland from that gritty port, past the shipping containers,
Right, away from the water.
you end up in a medieval garden that smells of jasmine, eating the best pizza of your life. For pennies, really.
And you're surrounded by authentic Italian life without a single influencer in sight.
It creates this fascinating tension, doesn't it?
It really does. The central debate we're unpacking today is essentially this. Is Salerno the ugly duckling that you should just skip on your way to Positano? Or, in the specific landscape of travel right now in 2026, is it actually the smart traveler's secret weapon?
Secret weapon is a strong phrase, but as I went through this material, I really started to see why they used it. But we have to ask the question, why now? Why are we doing a deep dive on Salerno in 2026 specifically?
Context is absolutely critical here. I mean, we're not talking about travel 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. This is a very 2026 conversation. The landscape has just shifted so dramatically. We're dealing with what the source calls the White Lotus hangover.
I love that phrase. It's so good. That's the HBO show that made everyone completely obsessed with Sicily and, by extension, the entire Italian coast, right?
Precisely. The show took what was already a popular destination and just turned it into a full-blown mania.
So the Amalfi Coast has been, loved to death?
Loved to death is the perfect way to put it. The saturation levels are they're unprecedented.
Aye.
But there are 2 major catalysts that make this conversation relevant right now today.
Okay.
First, we have the fully functional Salerno Costa d'Amalfi Airport, code QSR.
Which is a massive, massive development.
It changes the entire geometry of the trip. And second, we have what the source calls the Amalfi tax, the unofficial surcharge on everything hitting an all-time high.
Right. The cost of admission to that left view has become, astronomical.
Exactly.
So our mission today is simple, but I think it's vital for anyone planning a European summer. We need to analyze the trade-off. Is giving up that postcard perfect aesthetic.
Is it a functioning, gritty city?
Is it worth the savings and the logistical ease?
And we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. We've got costs, we've got logistics, traps to avoid.
And we've got a verdict matrix coming up at the end to tell you exactly who should go and, maybe more importantly, who should definitely stay away.
Because this is absolutely not for everyone.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Section 1. The geopolitical and economic context of 2026. Why are we even talking about Salerno? What does the coast actually look like right now?
Well, you have to look at the state of the coast itself. The source paints a pretty chaotic picture of the Amalfi Coast in 2026. We are looking at extreme saturation.
And the term they used was human gridlock, which is terrifying.
It's not an exaggeration. The source mentions license plate rationing.
Wait, what? Break that down. Rationing. Like for gas.
For cars. The roads.
Yeah.
That famous, beautiful, winding Amalfi Drive. They simply cannot handle the volume of traffic anymore.
So the infrastructure is just broken.
It's overwhelmed. So the authorities have implemented these alternating plate systems. If your license plate ends in an odd number, you might be banned from driving on odd days of the month.
Wow.
It's a really desperate measure just to keep traffic moving at all.
And it's not just cars, is it? The gridlock?
No, not at all. It's pedestrians, too. The source describes pedestrian traffic jams in Positano.
That just sounds, I can't even picture it.
Imagine being physically stuck in one of those narrow, charming alleyways, but you're shoulder to shoulder with hundreds of other people.
Oh, no.
And it's 30+ degrees Celsius, it's humid, and you literally cannot move forward or backward for 20 minutes.
I can just feel the panic rising. You're just trying to walk down to get a gelato or something. You're just stuck in a wall of people.
It's a serious capacity issue, and on top of that, the cost barrier has raised the stakes. The source describes hotel prices as making accountants weep.
That's a good line.
And it makes sense, right? You have this insane demand, but you have an absolutely fixed supply. I mean, these are tiny cliffside villages. You can't just build a new high-rise hotel.
So prices just go to the moon.
They skyrocket, and all of this pushes travelers to start looking desperately for alternatives.
And that's where the geography comes in. I really liked the anatomical analogy the source used to orient us. It made the map just click in my head.
It's a very helpful visualization. So if you imagine the Amalfi Coast as a leg.
Okay, I'm picturing a leg.
Sorrento is the knee. It's the joint at the top. It connects to the Bay of Naples. It's a major hub.
Got it. Knee equals Sorrento.
Then Positano is the shin, right in the middle, very prominent, very exposed. It's what you see.
And Salerno. Salerno is the ankle bone.
The ankle bone.
That implies it's at the bottom, it's supporting the weight, it's structural, but maybe not the part you look at and say, wow, what a beautiful feature.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's functional. It sits at the very southern end of the train line. It's the anchor point for the whole region.
But the game changer here, the thing that makes the ankle the place to be in 2026, is the infrastructure shift.
This is the core of the argument.
We have to talk about the airport.
QSR.
The Salerno Costa d'Amalfi Airport. Now, it opened for commercial flights back in 2024, but the source emphasizes that now, in 2026, it is fully operational. It has major connections from all over Europe.
And this is just, it's huge. Because historically, getting to the Amalfi Coast was a nightmare. I remember friends doing this trip years ago, and the transit was the worst part of their story.
It was an endurance test. It really was. You had to fly into Naples International. Now, Naples is a great city, but the airport and the traffic around it are pure chaos.
And from there?
From there, you had to take an hour-long transfer minimum. And that was either a very expensive taxi, we're talking 120, 130 euros, or a really complicated and sweaty train-to-bus situation.
So your vacation started with, like, 3 hours of stress.
At least. But now...
Now you land at QSR. You land at QSR. You are 20 minutes from the Salerno city center. It completely eliminates that friction. It changes the entire logistical calculus of the trip.
You're not arriving exhausted and motion sick and already annoyed.
You're starting your trip almost immediately upon landing. It's a fundamental shift in the experience.
Okay, so you land, you're in the city. But what is the city? Because the source makes a very clear distinction between the vertical and the horizontal.
And this is another fundamental concept for understanding the experience and, frankly, for understanding your own physical limitations.
Right.
Positano is a vertical village. To get anywhere, you are climbing. It is stairs, stairs, and more stairs.
It's beautiful in photos.
It is, but if you want to go to dinner, you climb. If you want to go to the beach, you go down hundreds of stairs, and then you have to climb all the way back up after your swim.
Which sounds romantic until you're doing it 3 times a day in the July heat with a beach bag.
Exactly. Salerno, on the other hand, is a horizontal city. It is flat.
Which sounds like such a small detail, but it's not. Not when you're dragging a suitcase or you have kids or you just want to go get a coffee without doing a full cardio workout.
It completely changes who can visit. We're talking about a real city of 130,000 people. It has a university, it has hospitals, real infrastructure. It's a functioning organism, not just a set designed for tourists.
And that leads directly to the grit factor. The source is very, very honest about this. It says Salerno is not Disney Italy.
No, and that's where the expectation management is so critical. You have to be prepared for what it is.
So what does that mean, grit?
The source mentions shipping cranes dominating one side of the view. It mentions graffiti, and quite a bit of it. It mentions brutalist post-war architecture mixed in with the beautiful medieval history.
So it's messy.
It's messy. It's not manicured. It hasn't been scrubbed clean for Instagram. It is a living, breathing, working port city.
But there's a contrarian surprise here, isn't there? A major upside to all that.
The accessibility. This is a huge point. Because it's a real city and because it's flat, it is significantly better for anyone with mobility issues compared to the rest of the coast.
It's not even a competition.
Not at all. I mean, if you can't do stairs, Positano is basically off limits. You'd be trapped in your very expensive hotel room. Salerno welcomes you. You can push a stroller. You can use a wheelchair. You can walk with a cane.
Okay, so we know where it is. We know it's got some grit. But let's talk about the vibe. Section 2. What does it actually feel like when you arrive?
Let's contrast the arrival experience again, because the source really hammers this home.
Right.
If you're going to Amalfi the traditional way, you're taking that train to Naples, then a sweaty bus or a private driver for 2 hours. It's exhausting.
Versus the Salerno arrival.
You're taking a high-speed Frecciarossa train from Rome. It's under 2 hours, it's smooth, it's air-conditioned, and you step off the train directly into the city center.
And the source mentions an auditory shift, which I found really interesting.
Yes, the lack of frantic tourist buzz.
What does that mean? No touts.
No touts. No aggressive taxi drivers immediately hounding you as you step off the train. The source describes the primary sounds as being just traffic and locals shouting from balconies.
That paints such a vivid picture, it sounds like. Well, like life. Just normal daily life happening around you, and you're just stepping into it.
That is the core of the atmosphere. It's not a performance for you. You are a guest in their city. You aren't the only industry they have.
Let's walk through the layout of the city. The source highlights 3 main areas. First up, the Corso Vittorio Emanuele.
Right. This is the main pedestrian shopping street. The source describes it as wide, clean, very pleasant.
And the key observation here is the time of day. 6:00 p.m., the passeggiata.
The Ferris Italian evening stroll.
Exactly. But there's a difference here.
A huge difference. In tourist towns like Sorrento or Taormina, the passeggiata is often just tourists looking at other tourists buying souvenirs. In Salerno, at 6:00 p.m., the street is packed with locals. It's teenagers flirting, grandmothers linking arms, families with kids. They're all dressed up, they're walking, they're eating gelato. It feels truly communal and authentic.
You're observing the culture, not just consuming it.
Precisely. Then you have the Centro Storico, the old town.
Okay, this sounds more like the classic image of Italy.
It is. Narrow, winding streets, little altars to saints built into the walls, drying laundry hanging from lines overhead. It's the classic atmospheric stuff. But, and here's a key expert note from the source, it is dark.
Dark? How do you mean?
Because the streets are so narrow and the buildings are so tall, it's that medieval layout, the ground floor apartments get almost zero natural light.
Okay.
So it's incredibly atmospheric to walk through. It feels like a movie set. But the source warns that if you book an Airbnb on the ground floor of the old town, it might feel a bit like a cave.
That is very, very practical tip.
Yeah.
And finally, the third area, the Lungomare Trieste,
Yeah.
the promenade.
The waterfront. It's about 2 kilometers of walking path, palm trees, benches, people jogging. And the source points out a really interesting psychological effect here. It calls it a tease.
A tease.
A tease. Because you're walking on this beautiful, wide-open promenade in Salerno where you're saving all this money, but you can look across the water and see the Amalfi Coast curving in the distance.
You can see the lights?
You can see the lights of Vietri sul Mare, the first town on the coast. You are literally looking at the expensive area while standing in the affordable area.
That's a powerful feeling. It's like you've hacked the system. You get the $1 million view of the coast without paying the $1 million price.
Exactly. And this leads to what the source calls the livable factor.
Yeah, exactly.
The lack of pressure to constantly spend money.
That is a very rare and precious quality in modern tourism.
It really is. In places like Positano or Capri, simply existing feels like it costs money. There is nowhere to just sit down unless you're paying 15 euros for a cocktail.
Right. Every bench is part of a cafe.
Exactly. In Salerno, the source gives this wonderful example of just sitting on a public bench and watching old men play cards for an hour. It costs nothing. You are allowed to just be there.
Speaking of spending money, or saving it, let's get to the juicy part. Section 3, the spreadsheet. This is where we analyze the costs and the value in 2026 numbers.
And this is the primary driver for many, many people choosing Salerno. The price difference it's just stark. It's not a little bit cheaper. It's a completely different economic universe.
Okay, lay it on us. Let's start with accommodation.
If you were looking at Positano or the town of Amalfi in 2026, a standard room, and the source is very specific here, this often means a room facing a wall, not a sea view, is running you 600 to 900 euros a night.
Wait, say that again? 600 and 900 for a wall. That hurts my soul just hearing it.
It's brutal. Now, compare that to Salerno. A high-end bed and breakfast or a good 4-star hotel will cost you 150 to 220 euros per night.
Okay, so that is a third or even a quarter of the price. For a better room, probably.
Very likely, yes. And for the budget travelers, this is even more important. Real, actual hostels exist in Salerno. You can get a dorm bed for 35 to 50 euros.
And in Positano.
The source explicitly states that hostels simply do not exist in Positano. They can't. The real estate is too valuable. You cannot do the Amalfi Coast on that kind of budget if you stay there. The entry price is the entry price.
Okay, what about food? I'm hungry just thinking about it.
Pizza. Salerno has its own distinct pizza culture. It's slightly different from the famous Neapolitan style, maybe a bit crunchier on the crust. And you are paying 6 to 9 euros for a world-class pizza.
6 to 9 euros. You can't even get a sad airport sandwich for that in most places.
I know. And for a full dinner?
A proper sit-down meal.
A sit-down dinner for 2 with wine, antipasti, the whole works. In Salerno, you're looking at 50 to 70 euros total.
And in Amalfi.
You're looking at 120 euros plus, easily, for a comparable meal.
And the source also mentions the hidden tax absence. What's that about?
It's about things like the coperto or cover charge, which is often higher in tourist traps, and the limoncello.
Ah, the limoncello.
In Salerno, at the end of a good meal, the limoncello is often on the house. It's a gesture of hospitality. In the tourist centers, you're paying for every single drop. They'll charge you for the bread you didn't even ask for.
Okay, but we have to be fair here. There is a trade-off. The source calls it the transport tax.
This is the critical counterbalance to all the savings. This is the price you pay. You save on sleeping and eating, but you pay in time and ferry tickets.
Right, because if you stay in Salerno, you still probably want to see Positano and Amalfi.
Yeah.
You aren't on the famous coast. You are next to it.
Exactly. A one-way ferry ticket from Salerno to Positano is about 20 euros. So a couple doing a day trip is spending 40 euros to get there.
And another 40 to get back. That's 80 euros.
That's 80 euros for one day trip just on the boat. If you do that 3 days in a row to see different towns, well, you've just spent 240 euros.
That adds up very quickly. It definitely eats into the accommodation savings.
It does. But the source makes a really interesting and I think valid analytic point here.
Which is to reframe the cost.
Yes. The argument is that you should view the ferry ride itself as an activity, not just a commute.
I like that.
The scenic value of seeing the Amalfi Coast from the water is immense. People pay 50, 60, 70 euros for dedicated boat tours just to get that view. You are getting that view as part of your daily transit.
So you're multitasking your sightseeing. That's a good way to frame it. Okay, so let's break down the daily budget profiles the source provided. Who spends what?
First up, the backpacker. They're staying in a hostel, eating street food and pizza, maybe taking the bus instead of the ferry sometimes. They can survive and have a great time on 75 to 90 euros a day.
That's incredible for this part of the world in 2026.
It's basically impossible anywhere else on the coast.
Yeah.
Then you have the mid-range couple. They're in a nice B&B. They're taking one ferry trip a day, having a proper sit-down dinner. Their budget is around 180 to 220 euros a day per person.
Still very, very reasonable for a prime Italian vacation.
And finally, the luxury traveler. They're spending 500 plus euros a day. But here is the key insight from the source.
What's the difference in what that money buys?
In Salerno, 500 euros a day buys you the absolute top-tier experience. You are staying at the Lloyd's Baia Hotel, a 5-star hotel carved into a cliff. You're eating the best seafood in the city every night. You are living like royalty.
And in Positano, for 500 euros a day.
In Positano, 500 euros buys you, and I'm quoting the source directly here, a closet and a bad attitude.
Wow. That is a savage but probably accurate comparison.
The value proposition is just undeniable. You are trading that prime location for a much higher quality of life during your stay.
Okay, so the money makes sense. The value is there. But what about the day-to-day, Section 4? logistics, traps, and a survival guide. Because it sounds like if you mess this card up, you could be in for a really bad time.
Absolutely. The source calls these traps, and you need to know them. Trap number 1 is the ferry schedule limit. This is what they call the Cinderella problem.
The Cinderella problem. I can visualize this perfectly. You're in Positano, you're having a great time, the sun is setting, you have maybe one too many Aperol spritzes.
And it's beautiful, but then suddenly it's 7:00 p.m. and the ferries have stopped running.
They just stop.
They stop running surprisingly early. Usually by 6:3 or 7:00 p.m., all the maritime connections shut down for the night.
And what happens if you miss that last boat? You missed your curfew.
You turn into a pumpkin. Or rather, you face a €150 taxi ride to get back to Salerno. It's a long, winding drive. Or you have to face trap number 2.
Which is the Cita bus.
The source describes this bus, and this is another direct quote, as the bus from hell.
Strong words.
But very descriptive. It's hot, it's often not air-conditioned, it's slow, it takes twice as long as the ferry because it gets stuck in all that traffic we mentioned earlier.
And the roads?
The roads are the real problem. Because of the constant sharp hairpin turns on the cliff roads, the braking and accelerating, the source says it is vomit-inducing.
Oh, that's a nightmare scenario. You're stranded, and your only cheap option is a bus that's going to make you sick.
So the advice is clearly, do not take the bus if you can avoid it.
But if you must.
If you absolutely must, go very early in the morning before the traffic builds up and sit on the left side of the bus for the best views. But really, the survival skill here is time management. You live and die by that ferry schedule.
Okay, what about trap number 3, the airport transfer?
We mentioned the wonderful new airport, QSR. Well, where there are new tourists, there are people trying to overcharge them. The source warns about the taxi mafia at the airport. They will try to charge you €50 to get you from the airport to the train station in the center of Salerno.
And the hack. There has to be a hack.
There's a very simple hack. There's a dedicated shuttle bus. It connects the airport directly to the train station for €5. It takes 20 minutes. Just ignore the taxi drivers and find the bus.
That's a simple choice that saves you €45 the second you land. I love it.
It sets the tone for a smart trip.
Okay, and trap number 4 is about gear and terrain.
Yes. We established that Salerno is flat, which is great. But the Centro Storico, the old town, is paved with cobblestones. And the source calls them vicious.
What does that mean for your luggage? No 4-wheel roller bags.
They will break. The source is very clear on this. Those little spinner wheels will snap off on the cobblestones. You need a sturdy 2-wheel bag or a backpack.
And footwear?
Footwear is critical. The source tells a little anecdote about seeing a snapped high heel abandoned in the Minerva Gardens.
Oh no, a tourist casualty.
Exactly. The message is clear. Dress for utility on your feet. This is a walking city with ancient pavement. Leave stilettos at home.
Let's touch on connectivity and seasonality before we move on. What's the tech situation?
5G is everywhere in Salerno. Remember, it's a university town, so the infrastructure is surprisingly modern. But, and this is very important for any digital nomads who think they can work from the ferry,
I can see them trying.
there are dead zones on the ferry ride. Specifically, as you go around the Big Bend towards Amalfi, you will lose signal completely for about 15 minutes.
Good to know. Don't schedule an important Zoom call during your beautiful commute.
Definitely not. And the weather warning. This one surprised me.
I was surprised too.
The source says, in bold letters, avoid August.
But
Yeah.
everyone goes to Italy in August. It's the peak of the peak season.
And that's part of the problem. But it's a specific problem for Salerno. Because it's a concrete city, it suffers from the urban heat island effect.
Ah, it just bakes.
It bakes. It gets to 35 to 38 degrees Celsius, and it's a humid, oppressive heat. It's stifling. And crucially, many of the best, most authentic restaurants actually close for a few weeks in August because the owners go on their own vacations.
That's the worst case scenario. You're sweating, you're miserable, and you can't even get the good food because the locals have left.
Exactly. The source recommends May or October as the absolute sweet spots. You get the beautiful weather without the oppressive heat and the crowds.
Okay, let's get into section 5. Safety, comfort, and the real experience. Because the word gritty can sometimes be a code word for unsafe.
That is a very common perception, and it's an important one to address. The visuals of Salerno, the graffiti we mentioned, the dim lighting in some of the medieval backstreets, the shipping containers, it can make it look rougher than, say, Sorrento, which is very polished and sanitized for tourism.
But what is the reality on the ground?
Statistically, it's very safe. The The source is clear that violent crime against tourists is extremely rare. It's more about an aesthetic of neglect in certain areas rather than any actual danger to your person.
The source does have a specific note for solo female travelers, though, regarding staring.
Yes. It notes that staring is a common cultural thing in the south of Italy. You might get the ciao bella catcalls. The source categorizes this as annoying for sure, but generally harmless.
And interestingly, it compares this favorably to the alternative.
Right. The source claims this is actually safer than taking the Circumvesuviana train to Sorrento, that old rickety commuter train, which is notorious for highly skilled pickpockets.
So the argument is you trade being looked at for keeping your wallet and your passport.
That seems to be the trade-off, yes.
We touched on accessibility earlier, but let's re-emphasize the stroller and mobility factor.
It's worth saying again, it is the only logical base on the entire coast for those who cannot do stairs. The source highlights the completely flat path from the train station all the way to the ferry terminal. That is a logistical miracle in this region.
So for families or anyone with mobility challenges, it's not just an option, it's really the only option.
It's the only way to do it without losing your mind or being confined to one small area.
There was a health warning in here too, a very practical one, about the sea.
Seasickness. This is a big one. If you base yourself in Salerno, you are committing to a life on boats. That's your commute.
And the water isn't always calm.
Not at all. The afternoon water, especially when the wind picks up, gets very choppy. The source explicitly advises that Dramamine or some other motion sickness remedy is essential. If you get seasick easily, this entire strategy could fall apart for you.
Don't let nausea ruin your well-planned, budget-friendly vacation.
Yeah.
Now, I want to hear about the good stuff, the highlights, the best moments according to the source.
There are two that really stood out as encapsulating the Salerno experience. First, the Castello di Arecci.
The castle on the hill.
Exactly. It sits high above the city. It offers this incredible sunset view over the entire Gulf of Salerno. You can see everything. And the experience the source describes is buying a €3 beer from a little kiosk up there.
Got a €20 cocktail.
Not a €20 cocktail. And just sharing that incredible view with locals who are walking their dogs and a few stray cats.
That sounds incredibly atmospheric. Just very grounded and real.
It's not a VIP section. It's a public space enjoyed by everyone. And the second highlight is a restaurant called Ciceronella.
Okay, tell me about the food.
Well, first, no English menu. That's always the green flag, isn't it?
The best sign.
It means honest pricing. It means food for locals. The source describes having melt-in-your-mouth eggplant parm and incredibly fresh anchovies. It represents that authentic culinary experience that is getting harder and harder to find in the main tourist centers, where all the menus are translated into 4 languages and the prices are tripled.
But it's not all perfect. We have to be honest and discuss the disappointments. We need to manage expectations.
And the biggest one is the beaches. This is a major, major expectation check. The main city beach in Salerno is called Santa Teresa.
What's it like?
The source describes it as having murky water and gray sand. I mean, you have to remember, it is right next to a massive commercial port. It is not the turquoise dream you see on Instagram.
So if you're a beach person and you want to spend all day swimming,
you have to travel for it. You take a short bus or ferry ride to Vietri or a smaller town like Urchi. Do not expect a Caribbean-style beach experience right in front of the Salerno promenade. It's not there.
And the second disappointment, the nightlife.
It is not a party town. The source says on weeknights, the city pretty much shuts down at midnight. It's a drink wine and talk loud at a dinner table. Culture, not a clubbing culture. If your goal is to dance until 4 a.m., this is not the place for you.
Good to know. So if Salerno feels a little too gritty or a little too real for someone, but they still want to save money and use the good transport links, are there alternatives? Section 6.
The source offers 2 really compelling alternatives that are right nearby. First, Vietri-Solmay.
That's the famous ceramics town, right? The first stop on the coast.
Yes, it's just a 5-minute train ride from Salerno. It's incredibly colorful. It feels more like a holiday village. It has better beaches right there, but it's still on the main train line. It's a great middle ground if the industrial grit of Salerno is a bit too much.
And the second one. This one is new to me.
Cava dei Turini. This is inland, about 10 minutes by train in the other direction. The source calls it Little Switzerland.
Little Switzerland
Well,
in southern Italy.
yes. Because it's a valley town surrounded by green hills, it has these beautiful long arcades lining the main street, so you're covered from the sun or rain. It's got fantastic food, and it's even cheaper than Salerno. It's a total hidden gem for people who want pure authenticity.
The source also proposes a combo itinerary for the strategist who wants to see it all.
This is a really smart plan for a longer trip. It suggests 3 nights in Salerno to use as a base for exploring the city itself and the incredible Greek ruins at Paestum, which are just south.
Okay.
Then 2 nights in Minori or Maori. Those are smaller coastal towns that are much flatter and more manageable than Positano.
A little taste of the coast life.
Exactly. And finally, 1 night in Naples before you fly out, so you can experience that city's energy and, of course, its pizza.
That sounds like a really well-rounded trip. You get the city, the coast, the history, everything.
It maximizes the logistics of the region.
Okay, here we go. The big finish. The is it worth it matrix.
Yeah.
We are going to break down who should go and who should stay away based on the source's final verdict.
Let's do it.
First up, the backpacker on a shoestring budget.
Verdict, 5 out of 5. It's a no-brainer. It's affordable, it's social with the hostels, it has great transport links. This is pretty much the only way to do the Amalfi Coast on a true backpacker budget in 2026.
Okay, solid. Second profile, families with young kids, strollers, diapers, the whole thing.
Verdict, 5 out of 5. Again, a huge win. The flat streets are a lifesaver. You have real supermarkets for buying diapers and snacks, not just tiny, expensive boutiques. And the culture is so welcoming to children. The source notes that crying babies get cookies from strangers instead of angry glares.
That's a huge plus for any parent. Okay, third, the mid-range couple. They're looking for a mix of value and romance.
Verdict, 4 out of 5. It's good, it's very good value, but they have to accept the commute for their romance. You have to be okay with the fact that you need to take a ferry to get to the most iconic romantic spots.
And there's a practical tip there.
Yes, the source advises booking a B&B away from the slightly noisy train station area to maximize the romantic vibe.
And finally, the luxury vibes traveler. The one who wants the perfect photo, the seamless, manicured experience.
Verdict, 1 out of 5. It is a hard no.
A hard no, not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
If you want that manicured perfection, if you want to wear your linen outfits without seeing any graffiti in the background of your photos, the source says just go to Ravello, pay the premium. Salerno is not for you. You will hate the grit. You will hate the shipping containers. Don't do it to yourself.
That is very clear advice.
Yeah.
So bringing it all together for the conclusion, what is the final word on Salerno in 2026?
The source calls Salerno the logistical MVP of the region, most valuable player. In 2026, with the new airport and the overcrowding elsewhere, it is functionally superior to Sorrento as a travel base.
And the argument is that it offers a better vacation, which is a bold claim.
It is, but the reasoning is that it's better not because it's prettier, it isn't, but because you aren't being constantly exploited. You aren't being squeezed for every last dime at every turn. You can relax.
I think that's a really powerful takeaway. The source says Salerno doesn't care if you like it, which kind of makes it more likable, you know?
It does. It's just being itself. It's salty, it's loud, and it's delicious.
It really challenges our definition of tourism versus traveling, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Is the best way to see a famous, beautiful place to actually stay just outside of it, looking in.
That is a very provocative thought to end on. It makes you reconsider how we approach these bucket list destinations.
And a little teaser from the source. Their next deep dive is looking at Albania to answer the question on everyone's mind. Is the hype finally dead?
Ooh, looking forward to that one. The backlash has to come eventually.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, and happy travels.